Hello, my name is Ben Wolkoff, and welcome to another daily anti-fascist video of Inspired Defiance. Today I'm inspired by the Supreme Court taking yet another case from my state of Colorado. This time they're not talking about a bakery and whether or not they have the right to discriminate against a queer couple who might want to make them a cake, even though no one asked them. Colorado, like 30 other states, have banned conversion therapy, mostly because the medical organizations and psychiatric organizations say that it's terrible for kids, that it is causing them irreparable harm. My state, along with many others, have chosen to listen to expertise, chosen to listen to people who are experts in child psychology, who are experts in queer issues and issues of identity. And we have used this expertise to write legislation that allows for a worldview that is bigger than bigotry. But this conservative Supreme Court doesn't see it that way. And based upon the oral arguments today, I'm not sure that conversion therapy will continue to be banned in my state or among many others. And I keep on thinking what this says to my children, to other people's children, about the sheer cruelty of telling a child, telling anyone, that at their core there is something wrong with them, that they need to be fixed. And what kind of future are we building where we can't even agree that actively harming young people for being themselves is wrong? And the reason why this strikes so close to home for me is that when I was in high school in the 1990s, I was questioning my sexuality. I had lots of ideas about my own identity. And when I discussed them with my parents, they gave me a book called You Don't Have to Be Gay. And it was appalling. The stereotypical and threatening language that was found in that book, I took to heart. It showed me that my parents could not be trusted with my well-being. It showed me that their belief was more important than their son. And it was more important to control me than it was to support me. While ultimately, my parents came to understand that in order to be in my life, in my children's lives, that they would have to widen their perspective, that they would have to allow for more than just one version of what it means to be a man, to be married, to have children. And that is why this type of policy, the undoing of bans that have been supported by a huge number of medical professionals, why it is so dangerous. They are replacing the truth of existence. There are queer kids. There are people who are attracted to the same sex. They are replacing that truth with ideological convenience, with the ability to create binaries and to only have a few acceptable forms of parenting. The idea that the Supreme Court would go against so much precedent, so many states, so much expertise, just because of an ideological bent, is completely untenable. I'm also inspired to resist when the White House says they're not going to pay the furloughed workers for the time that they have missed or for the time that they are actually working while the government is shut down. Even though the rules were set out during the last government shutdown, during the last Trump presidency, saying that all workers that have been furloughed have to be given their back pay, Trump and his White House are not interested in playing by the rules that they wrote. And it seems to me that if you can't even abide by the rules that you have set out, how are we supposed to know how to do it? How are we supposed to live within those policies that keep on shrinking? And finally, I'm inspired today by the fact that Trump is considering using the Insurrection Act against American citizens. He is planning, in both word and deed, to attack cities and individuals that did not vote for him. My kids are growing up in a world where the lines between civil governance and military intervention are deliberately blurred. You don't know who the good guys are. You don't know who the people are that are protecting you and those that are striving to oppress you. And as more of our National Guard gets deployed to Chicago, to Portland, to other cities that they want to invade, and I start to think about the National Guard members, the people themselves who are being faced with this decision, surely not all of them signed up to be military combatants inside of an American city. Surely some of them are not interested in pointing guns at civilians. Surely some of them can see protest as something good and vital for our nation. And ultimately, we're not going to be able to convince Trump that this is a bad idea, or Stephen Miller that it's a bad idea. We might be able to convince those members of the National Guard, though. We might be able to talk human to human and to engage in conversation about, is this what you wanted? Is this the kind of world that you thought you were bringing about by maintaining safety? Now, they're not in Denver yet. And as many people have pointed out in the comments, I am not being oppressed. I'm not. That's not something that is actively happening to me. But when I see elderly women who are protesting and being beaten, when I see guns being pointed in the face of peaceful protesters, it's okay if you don't listen. And it's okay if you don't like what I'm saying. But if I could speak to one of those National Guard members, I would say, I know this is a job for you. I know that you are theoretically getting paid if the government wasn't shut down. But is this what you want for your life, for your kids' lives, and for the lives that you see in front of you? And my guess is that when you speak human to human, and when you connect with someone, even on an opposing side, it will become blindingly obvious that there is no conflict here. There is no reason to oppress others. There is no reason to stifle dissent. And I hope I get to have that conversation. I hope there are many of those conversations.